He told me I was nothing without him, that no one else would ever love me, that I was too sensitive, too emotional, too weak. And for a while, I believed him. Because that's how it begins, doesn't it? Not with yelling, not with chaos, but with the slow, quiet erosion of your sense of self, the subtle rewiring of your mind, where what you thought was love begins to feel like confusion, where affection turns into control, and every argument ends with you apologizing for things you never did. This isn't just a story, it's a mirror. And if you've ever dealt with a narcissist, you know this reflection all too well. You slowly disappearing. The world loves to give advice. Just cut them off. Don't let them get to you. Be the bigger person. But what if the narcissist is your spouse, your parent, your boss? What if leaving feels harder than staying? What if the relationship was built to make you believe that you can't survive without them? The Stoics understood this kind of chaos. They lived through betrayal, war, exile, even enslavement. And yet, they found peace, not by controlling others, but by mastering themselves. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." The Stoics never promised a perfect world. What they promised was something far more powerful, that you could remain unshaken, even when someone else is trying to break you. And that's what today is about. This isn't just a video about narcissists. This is your roadmap back to yourself. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like you were walking on eggshells just trying not to set them off? Have you ever apologized for telling the truth just to keep the peace? Have you ever replayed a conversation in your head 100 times, wondering, am I the one going crazy? If so, you're not alone. But more importantly, you're not powerless, because within you right now is something they can never reach, your inner citadel. Epictetus, born into slavery, stripped of status and family, once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That narcissist wants your reaction. They want to control the narrative. They want you emotionally entangled. But what if you don't give them what they want? What if you pause, breathe, and choose stillness over chaos? What if your silence becomes your strategy? What if your peace becomes your power? We're not here to talk about revenge. We're not here to fix them. Stoicism doesn't teach us to win arguments. It teaches us to win our lives back, to turn wounds into wisdom, to turn silence into strength, to turn pain into purpose. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." So much of the pain we carry isn't from what they said or did. It's from what we keep reliving after it happens. The overthinking. The what if I had just said this instead? But the Stoics offer us a better question. What if I stop giving this person the power to define me? What if I stop seeking their approval and start approving of myself? Here's the truth. You may never get the apology you deserve. You may never get closure. They may never change. But your healing? It was never about them. It's about choosing not to carry their chaos any longer. It's about finally saying, "This ends with me." Marcus Aurelius reminds us, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. So today isn't just about coping. It's about reclaiming your mind, your voice, your boundaries. You came here looking for a strategy, for clarity, for a way out. And while there's no magic fix, there is a path. It's built on thousands of years of wisdom, forged in fire, tested by emperors and exiles. And it begins right here, with you, reclaiming your strength, rebuilding your identity, remembering who you were before they made you forget. So if your soul is tired, if your heart is heavy, if your mind feels like it's under siege, stay with me, because everything changes the moment you decide, I will no longer live in fear. I will no longer react to chaos. I will not be broken. I will rise. I will not fight fire with fire. I will master the fire within. This is the beginning of your return to power, to presence, to peace. This is where Stoicism stops being a quote and starts becoming your armor. Because in a world full of manipulation, noise, and blame, there's still one place that's safe, one place they can never touch. That place is you. Let's build it together. Part 1. Minimize their role, maximize your freedom. Why do you let them get to you? That's what people say. As if setting boundaries was just about deciding to stop caring. As if decades of emotional conditioning could be undone overnight with a motivational quote. But when you're dealing with a narcissist, you're not just navigating a toxic relationship. You're untangling your identity from someone who taught you to doubt it. And that is war. Every insult they throw at you is designed to stick. Not like an arrow, like a hook. They want you entangled, wrapped in their chaos, so that even when they're not around, you're still living in their emotional shadow. They text, you flinch. They go silent, you spiral. They compliment you, and suddenly you forget everything they did yesterday. This isn't random, strategic, because as long as they can control your emotional landscape, they control you. But the Stoics teach us something radical. You always own the option of having no opinion. Marcus Aurelius. What does that mean? It means they can say what they want, act how they want, spin their stories, but you don't have to react. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to accept the role they've cast you in. You get to decline the script. Here's what that looks like in real life. Your phone pings. It's them. You feel your stomach clench. Because you know whatever it is, it'll be passive-aggressive, manipulative, or just confusing enough to ruin your peace. Before Stoicism, you would have answered instantly. Overthink the wording. Brace for the reaction. But now you pause. You breathe. You read the message, and you do nothing. Not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to protect your inner citadel. That's what Epictetus meant when he said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. It's not about blaming yourself. It's about recognizing your power. Here's the truth they don't want you to hear. They only have as much power as you give them. So stop giving it. Minimizing their role in your life isn't petty. It's not cold. It's not revenge. It's self-defense. It's choosing peace over performance, sanity over sacrifice. And it starts with one bold, terrifying question. What if I stopped playing my part? What if I didn't try to fix things? What if I didn't respond to the guilt trips? What if I stopped showing up just to be torn down? Of course, it's not that simple. Sometimes they're family, a parent, a sibling, a partner, someone who's so deeply woven into your life that even the idea of distance feels like betrayal. But let me ask you this. Is staying close to them betraying yourself? Seneca once said, associate with people who are likely to improve you. That doesn't just apply to friends. It applies to everyone. If someone continually wounds your peace, manipulates your boundaries, and leaves you doubting your reality, you are not obligated to keep them close. You're not cruel for choosing distance. You're not heartless for choosing to heal. Creating distance doesn't always mean cutting contact. Sometimes it means cutting access to your emotions, to your inner world. You can sit at the same dinner table and still deny them entry into your mind. You can answer their texts without explaining yourself. You can smile without giving them control over your day, because you've shifted something fundamental. You're no longer reacting. You're choosing. You've remembered that your peace is yours, and it's not for sale. This is what minimizing their role actually looks like, and not defending every accusation, leaving messages on read, choosing silence where there used to be desperation, not because you're ignoring the problem, but because you finally realize they are not the center of your story. You are. Be prepared. When you stop reacting, they will escalate. They'll call you cold. They'll accuse you of being selfish. They'll push harder, poke deeper. Because nothing scares a narcissist more than losing control over you. But that's where Stoicism becomes your anchor. The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. Marcus Aurelius. The strength? It's not loud. It's not flashy. It doesn't need to prove anything. It looks like peace. It feels like silence. It moves like someone who no longer performs for approval. You're not responsible for their behavior, but you are responsible for your boundaries. And when you choose to minimize their role in your life, you send a message without saying a word. I will not be manipulated. I will not be defined by your dysfunction. I will not lose myself to keep the peace. That's not spite. That's sovereignty. That's Stoicism in action. So the next time they show up with chaos in one hand and charm in the other, remember, you don't owe them your energy, your explanation, your reaction. You owe yourself your life back. Minimize their role. Maximize your freedom. Because your story is just getting started. Part 2. Expose the mask without a fight. They walk in like they own the place. Head high. Smile calculated. Voice loud enough to dominate the room. You know the type. The narcissist doesn't just crave attention, they depend on it. Because underneath all the charm and confidence is fear. Deep fear that the truth will come out. That someone will see through the mask. But here's the part they don't want you to realize. Their power only exists if you believe in it. Narcissists are performers. They inflate their accomplishments. They rewrite stories to suit their narrative. They play the victim and the hero, sometimes in the same sentence. They don't want connection. They want control. And the moment you stop feeding their illusion, they panic. Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone is able to prove me wrong, I will gladly change. For I seek the truth." But narcissists aren't seeking truth. They're seeking domination. And that's where Stoicism becomes your quiet weapon. You don't need to confront them. You don't need to expose them with rage or accusation. That's their game, and they win when you play it. Instead, you remain calm. You observe. You stay rooted. Epictetus said, "Be silent about your services, but speak of the favors you've received." You don't need to defend yourself. You don't need to shout the truth. You simply ask questions, genuine, thoughtful ones. Can you walk me through that again? How did that work exactly? And then, silence. Let the weight of the question hang in the air. Let their story fall apart on its own. Because when you remove the applause, the performance loses its power. This isn't about revenge. It's not about proving them wrong. It's about detaching from the need to be understood by someone who thrives on misunderstanding you. That's emotional freedom. That's Stoicism. Seneca said, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity." Narcissists can't grow because they won't face truth, but you can. And that's what makes you powerful. It's not easy. It takes strength to stay still when everything in you wants to speak, to defend, to react. But strength isn't about volume. It's about clarity. You don't respond with anger. You respond with awareness. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus, let your peace speak. Let your boundaries speak. Let your silence be your stand. You don't need to match their energy. You don't need to play their game. You've already won because you've stopped playing. And yes, they'll notice. They'll notice when you don't flinch, when you don't chase, when you stop reacting. They'll say you've changed, that you've become cold. But what they really mean is, you're no longer easy to manipulate. And that's exactly the point. People around you will notice too. They'll see your calm. They'll hear your tone. They'll feel your clarity. And eventually the truth won't need to be said. It'll be seen. So don't fight the mask. Just stop giving it power. Stop validating it. Stop responding to it. And most of all, stop letting it shape who you are. You don't need a mask. You don't need a performance. You don't need their approval. You have truth. You have clarity. You have yourself. And that is unshakable. Part 3, healing begins with you. You got out. You stopped playing their game. You walked away from the chaos. But now comes the hardest part, facing what's left behind. Because even when they're gone, their voice still lingers in your head. Their words echo in the silence. And the version of you they built, it still tries to speak as if it were the truth. This is the part no one warns you about. Healing isn't just about cutting them off. It's about removing what they planted inside of you. The guilt, the self-doubt, the belief that love has to be earned through suffering. That's where the real battle begins. Inside your own mind. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. They're no longer here, but the scars are. And now you have to heal them. Here's how it starts. One day you wake up, and for the first time, There's quiet. No drama. No manipulation. Just you. And strangely, instead of peace, you feel lost. Because when you've lived in emotional chaos for so long, stillness feels like danger. Calm feels unnatural. But that emptiness you feel, that's not something wrong with you. That's detox. That's your nervous system learning safety again. Let it happen. The truth is, we don't just walk away from toxic people. We walk away with wounds. Invisible ones. You flinch when someone raises their voice. You shrink when someone compliments you. You say sorry just for existing. But healing begins when you stop apologizing for breathing. Seneca said, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." Your story isn't over. And it doesn't have to be about pain. You get to write the next chapter. And it starts when you make one powerful decision. Choose yourself. Now that might sound cheesy. But choosing yourself is not some feel-good mantra. It's gritty. It's raw. It's hard. It means showing up to therapy not to fix what's wrong, but to uncover what's always been right. It means setting boundaries not as walls, but as space where your soul can breathe. It means letting go of the version of you they built, and slowly rebuilding the version you were always meant to be. This isn't about revenge. It's about reclaiming your life, on your terms. Some days it'll be brutal. You'll miss them. Not because they were good, but because chaos became comfort. That's normal. Healing isn't a straight line. It's a spiral. You'll revisit the same pain, but each time you'll come back stronger, wiser, lighter. That's growth. And here's where Stoicism becomes your compass. We suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Seneca, the worst is already behind you. What's hurting now are the echoes. Your job is to stop feeding the pain with your thoughts. Stop believing the stories they told you about yourself. When you do that, you start to feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Freedom. You'll notice it in small, quiet moments. You'll stop over-explaining. You'll stop needing permission to rest. You'll stop asking, "Is it okay to just be me?" And then one day you'll catch your reflection and realize you're finally home. You're not who they said you were. You're not broken. You're not too much. You're not hard to love. You're healing. And that is sacred. That's the real win. Not perfection. Not pretending. But power. The power to own your life again. To speak without fear. To set a boundary without guilt. They no longer get to write your story. You do. To love only what happens, what was destined. No greater harmony. Marcus Aurelius. You're not lost. You're rebuilding. And this time it's real. So let today be the day you stop surviving and start living. Let it be the day you stop searching for peace in others and start building it within yourself. You already did the hardest part. You walked away. Now, walk toward you. Part 4. Protect your peace like it's sacred. After all the pain, after the betrayal, after the long, silent battles, you finally chose healing. You walked away from what was breaking you. But the journey? It's far from over. Because the most precious thing you've reclaimed, your inner peace, is now under constant test from the outside world. Have you noticed? It only takes one message from the past. One dismissive glance from a coworker. One careless comment from someone close. And suddenly you're spiraling again. Second-guessing yourself. Shrinking. Questioning your worth. If you're not vigilant, that hard-earned peace can slip right through your fingers. Marcus Aurelius said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." That quote isn't just poetic. It's tactical. A Stoic reminder that no one has the power to steal your peace unless you hand it to them. You need to learn to guard your peace like a Stoic warrior, because the world will always test you. It will send you people who don't respect boundaries, situations designed to provoke your emotions, moments that try to drag you back into the chaos, and you only have two options. 1. Fall back into the old pattern, reacting emotionally, losing control. 2. Or stand firm. Respond with clarity. Defend your peace like it's your sacred stronghold. Epictetus wrote, "It's not events that disturb people, it's their judgments about them." Don't get it twisted. Protecting your peace doesn't mean shutting down or being cold. It's not avoidance. It's an active choice. It's saying, I refuse to let the world dictate my emotional state. Picture this. You're standing in the middle of a storm. The wind howls. The rain pounds. Thunder cracks above. You can't stop the storm from coming, but you can build shelter. Your peace is that shelter. Every time you choose not to react to provocation, you're laying bricks. Every time you disengage from meaningless conflict, you're reinforcing your roof. Every moment of stillness you give yourself, you're locking the door. Here's what most don't realize. Choosing not to react is not weakness. It's the highest form of strength. A Stoic doesn't lack emotion. A Stoic governs it with wisdom. Seneca said, "He who is angry over things which happen to him deserves to be punished by his own anger." You're no longer that person. You're no longer a slave to emotions. You're the master. You decide what gets to live in your mind rent-free and what doesn't. And something incredible happens when you begin to protect your peace. You stop needing to win every argument. You stop needing everyone to understand you. You stop trying to prove your worth to people who never saw it in the first place. You finally feel free. Take a moment and reflect on your day. How many moments were stolen from you? Because you reacted on impulse? Because someone else's drama hijacked your mental space? Now imagine. You take a breath. You pause. You ask yourself, is this worth my peace? And then you smile. You choose silence. You walk away. That's not weakness. That's power. That's self-respect. The world can stay chaotic. People can stay unpredictable. But you can stay calm. That's your superpower. The ultimate freedom is the right to be left alone. Marcus Aurelius, you've done the inner work. You've healed. Now protect what you've built at all costs. Treat your peace like treasure. And you are the guardian. Because once you learn to live from the inside out, nothing outside can break you. If you've made it this far, I know one thing for sure. You're done living in a cage. You're tired of pretending to be someone else just to feel accepted. You're exhausted from sacrificing your own peace just to keep a toxic relationship alive. You're not just ready to walk away. You're ready to rise again. Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the ability to choose how you feel without being forced by anyone else." And that's what you're learning to do. Not to be ruled by someone else's anger. Not to react every time someone throws shade. Not to shrink every time someone questions your worth. You're writing a new chapter. One where you don't live to prove anything. You live to feel, to breathe, to be present with yourself. And here's the truth no one tells you. Peace doesn't come when life gets quiet. It comes when you choose calm in the middle of the storm. When you stop fighting battles that aren't yours. When you stop seeking validation from people who were never qualified to give it. When you stop apologizing for protecting your energy. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." So choose thoughts that honor your peace. It's not about what they think. It's not about how you should respond. It's about asking one simple question. Is this worth my peace? Every time you say no, you reclaim a piece of your freedom. You don't need to pretend anymore. You don't need to smile when you're breaking inside. You don't need to chase people who don't see you. You just need to return to yourself, to your breath, to your values, to the stillness that lives inside of you. That's where your power is. Not in noise, not in proving, not in fighting, but in the sacred silence of someone who knows who they are. You are the gatekeeper of your soul. And from this moment on, let only what's good come in. If this message spoke to you, don't stop here. Keep going. Keep growing. Read more. Write your truth. Meditate. Observe your emotions like a Stoic soldier, with clarity and compassion. Learn to say no without guilt. Learn to love yourself like the best friend you never had. Subscribe if you want to keep walking this path with us, where every video brings you one step closer to the strength inside you. Share this with someone who needs it. You never know. One video, one voice, one sentence might be the thing that helps someone breathe again. And if this hit home today, leave a like. Not for me, but as a sign to yourself. I'm done letting others control how I feel. I'm reclaiming my life. And remember this, don't wait for the world to be peaceful for you to find peace. Be the peace in a world that desperately needs it.